Good evening. Before we begin, take a slow, deep breath and tell me, where are you joining us from tonight? Are you listening from a quiet room, lights dimmed low, or maybe from a small apartment somewhere in the city, where the hum of cars outside feels like the tide of an ocean? This is a story about light, the light of wisdom, of wonder, and of human hearts that never stopped reaching for the stars. It is the story of the lanterns of ancient Alexandria, a tale to help you rest, to quiet your thoughts, and to remind you that every flicker of light, even the smallest one, has its own story to tell. Close your eyes and imagine the soft hush of waves lapping against the harbor walls of Alexandria more than 2,000 years ago. It's night, a Mediterranean night, warm and full of salt and jasmine. The sky stretches wide, a dome of indigo velvet scattered with stars, and the wind carries whispers from across the sea, from Greece, from Africa, from the deserts beyond. You are standing on the edge of the great harbor, where ships from every corner of the world once came to trade: spices, scrolls, glass, gold, and ideas. Its flame burns at the top of a towering white structure of marble and limestone, reflected in the waters below. To travelers, that flame meant safety. To philosophers, it meant knowledge. And to dreamers, it meant hope. The city itself hums quietly, even at night. Stone streets glow with the soft light of oil lamps. Market stalls are closed now, their fabrics drawn, but the smell of cumin, honey, and roasted almonds lingers in the air. You can hear the distant sound of footsteps, sandals on stone, and the faint murmur of poets reciting verses under the porticos of the library's courtyard. Somewhere, an old scholar is still awake, writing by lamplight, tracing delicate lines of ink across a papyrus scroll. In Alexandria, light was sacred. It was not only fire, it was knowledge made visible. And so begins our story, not with kings or conquests, but with a boy. A boy who carried a lantern through the winding streets each night after the scholars had gone to rest. His name was Nikos, the son of a glassmaker. He was no more than 12, with sand-colored hair and a quiet curiosity that made his eyes look older than his years. Each evening, as the sky deepened to violet, Nikos would help his father polish the glass lenses for the great lamps that burned atop the lighthouse. It was humble work, washing, grinding, shaping the clear glass until it caught the last rays of the sun. But to Nikos, every piece of glass was a universe. When he held it up to the light, he could see colors the day itself had hidden. Blues like the sea at dawn, gold like the desert at noon, and silver like the moon on the harbor. His father used to say, "Every lantern we make helps someone find their way home." And Nikos believed it. Every night he watched the lighthouse fire blaze, and he felt proud. Not of himself, but of the light that never went out. One evening, when the moon was full and the air felt heavy with the scent of blooming lotus, Nikos noticed something unusual. A small ship had arrived in the harbor, late, too late, and it was drifting dangerously close to the rocks. The lighthouse flame was hidden behind a veil of fog that had rolled in from the sea. Without the light, the sailors couldn't see. Nikos looked up toward the Pharos tower, but its beam flickered weakly, almost swallowed by mist. He felt a flutter in his chest, a quiet calling. He ran to his father's shop, grabbed one of their freshly made glass lanterns, and lit it with a trembling hand. Then another and another. He placed them along the pier, one by one, little stars against the dark. Each lantern glowed warmly, and the light danced across the water like fireflies. From the ship, a sailor shouted. They had seen the glow. Guided by those small lights, they turned their vessels safely toward the dock. When they arrived, the captain stepped off, eyes full of gratitude. He looked at the boy and said softly, "You saved us, little one. The gods must bless your light." Nikos smiled shyly, unsure what to say. He hadn't done it for praise. He had simply done what the night needed. Word spread quickly. Soon, people began to place their own lanterns by the harbor each evening. Simple clay lamps, bowls of oil, bits of polished glass, each one reflecting the next. In a few days, the whole shore shimmered like a necklace of stars. And that is how the lanterns of Alexandria began. At first, it was a small custom, something beautiful but practical. Yet as the years passed, it became a ritual of the heart. Every family would light a lantern at dusk, not just for safety, but for memory. Some for those they missed at sea, some for the scholars they admired, some simply for love. The nights of Alexandria became luminous, not with noise, not with celebration, but with quiet wonder. From the steps of the library to the narrow lanes of the glassmaker's quarter, soft lights flickered in every doorway. Scholars said it made the city feel alive, as if the stars themselves had come down to rest upon its rooftops. But one night, long after Nikos had grown into a young man, a storm came. The sea roared like 1,000 voices, and the waves crashed against the harbor walls. The Pharos flame bent in the wind, flickering wildly. People rushed to save their boats, their scrolls, their homes. Nikos, now older, wrapped his cloak tightly and ran toward the lighthouse, clutching his lantern. Rain fell in heavy sheets, and the wind tore through the streets. Yet everywhere he passed, the lanterns of the people, those small, fragile flames, were still burning. Each window glowed softly, refusing to surrender to the storm. When he finally reached the base of the lighthouse, Nikos looked up at the trembling fire high above and whispered, "Stay with us." And somehow, it did. The lighthouse survived the night. When dawn broke, the city stood soaked but unbroken, and the lanterns still burned. Travelers who came to the city told tales of the City of Eternal Lanterns. Even centuries later, long after the Pharos itself crumbled and the great library fell to time, sailors swore they could still see a faint glow upon the water on calm nights, as if the old lamps had never gone out. Tonight, as you rest, imagine that same soft glow, flickering across the dark sea. Each light represents a dream, a memory, a voice from the past, whispering gently across time. You might even feel it, that hush, that gentle stillness, the way the night air cools the skin, the way the water hums softly below the harbor steps. And maybe, just maybe, one of those ancient lanterns is still burning for you, reminding you that your light, however small it may seem, has the power to guide someone home. Now, breathe deeply again. In through your nose, slow and calm, and out through your mouth, easy and quiet. You're safe. You're warm. The story is still here, glowing softly beside you. If you listen closely, you might even hear the sounds of the old city still alive. The soft clink of a craftsman's tools, the murmur of the sea against the stones, the faint laughter of children chasing fireflies between the columns, and the hum of scholars' voices, the thinkers who once dreamed of mapping the stars. They too lived by the lanterns. They too watched the night and wondered, what is light really? Is it only fire and oil, or something more? Perhaps, like you tonight, they believed it was a companion, a quiet presence that stays when the world darkens, waiting patiently for dawn. And so the legend of the lanterns of Alexandria became something greater than a story. It became a lullaby of the ancient world, one that the sea still sings in the language of waves and wind. Now, as your eyelids grow heavy, picture the harbor once more. The Pharos flame gleams faintly in the mist. The lamps along the shore shimmer like golden pearls. And in the quiet distance, the first hint of morning begins to rise. Pale light stretching across the horizon, turning the marble city to gold. You can feel it, that serene hush before the day begins. The air is calm again, the sea gentle, and the world glows with soft warmth. This is the hour when dreams dissolve into dawn, when stories fade into silence, and when you, the listener, rest in the comfort of knowing that even across centuries, light endures. So tonight, let your thoughts drift like ships on a still harbor. Let the memory of Alexandria's lanterns guide you inward, toward peace, toward sleep, toward that timeless glow that lives quietly within you. Because maybe the lanterns of ancient Alexandria were never meant to illuminate the sea. Maybe they were meant to remind us that the truest light is the one that never leaves us, even in the dark. Good night, traveler. May your dreams be filled with quiet harbors, silver moons, and the soft light of 1,000 ancient lanterns leading you home. The morning after the storm, the city of Alexandria felt washed clean. The marble streets shimmered with dew, and the air carried that rare sweetness that only follows the fiercest rain. Fishermen moved quietly along the docks, their sandals brushing against wet stone. The scent of salt and seaweed mingled with the perfume of crushed jasmine petals that had fallen overnight. And all across the city, the small lanterns, the same ones that had burned through the storm, were still glowing softly in doorways and windowsills. Some had gone out during the wind, yes, but their soot marks remained on the walls, tiny halos of black that the people would later call the kisses of the flame. To them, those marks were sacred reminders that the light had tried. It had fought the darkness, and that was enough. In the harbor, Nico stood by his father's shop once more, polishing a lens. His hands were older now, steady but lined, and when he lifted the glass toward the sun, he smiled faintly. The light fractured into a rainbow on his skin. To him, that rainbow was a message. The storm had ended, but the memory of light never faded. That day, as he worked, he noticed a young girl watching him from across the street. She carried a scroll case on her back and wore the simple linen dress of a student from the library. Her name was Thalia, a name that meant to bloom. She had come from the island of Rhodes to study mathematics, but what she truly loved were stories, the kind whispered between the shelves when the scholars thought no one was listening. She approached shyly, her sandals whispering on the sand. "Are you the man who made the lanterns?" she asked. Nikos looked up, a bit startled. "I made some of them," he said, smiling, "but most of them were made by the people. That's how the light grew." Thalea's eyes sparkled. "The scholars at the library say the lanterns changed the city, that people are kinder now. They say the lights make them think of each other, not just themselves." Nikos chuckled softly. "Maybe kindness is a kind of light, too," he said. That evening, as the sun dipped low and the water turned gold, Thalea returned. She brought with her a small scroll, a poem she had written, and asked if she could read it aloud by the shore. Nikos agreed, and as the two of them stood among the first flickering lanterns, her voice floated softly through the air. "When the sea forgets its song, we lend it the tune of our lanterns. When the sky grows blind, we teach it how to see again through flame. And when hearts grow dark, we remind them light was born to be shared." Those who passed by stopped to listen. By the time Thalea finished, the harbor was glowing brighter than ever, not because of her words alone, but because people were lighting new lamps, inspired by the sound of them. Years flowed quietly, like the slow rhythm of the sea. The city thrived. Scholars came from distant lands, Babylon, India, even faraway Gaul. The library grew vast and alive with scrolls. And every evening, as dusk fell, the lanterns of the harbor were lit again. But time, as always, moves like the tide. Nikos grew old. Thalea became a teacher, her poems read by new generations of students. And yet the flame continued, passed from hand to hand, from heart to heart. Then, one summer, whispers began to travel along the coast. A new ruler, new armies, new fires. Alexandria, for all its beauty, was not beyond the reach of time and war. But the people remembered the night of the great storm, when the light had not gone out. So they prepared, not with weapons, but with lamps. When the first ships of the invaders were spotted on the horizon, the city did something unexpected. Instead of fleeing, the citizens gathered on the shore at sunset, each holding a small lantern. They lined the harbor shoulder to shoulder, merchants, scholars, fishermen, mothers, children, and lifted their lights toward the sea. From afar, the approaching fleet saw something astonishing. The entire coast of Alexandria glowing like liquid gold. For a moment, the generals hesitated. It looked as if the city itself had become a single living flame. And though battles would still come in the years ahead, that night passed in peace. The ships turned back, unwilling to strike a city that shone so brightly. Some said the light frightened them. Others said it humbled them. But the Alexandrians knew the truth. Light has a power that fear cannot understand. After that night, the Lantern Festival became a yearly ritual. On the eve of midsummer, the people would fill the harbor with thousands of floating lamps, small bowls of olive oil balanced on palm leaves. The water shimmered with reflections, as if the sea itself had turned into a mirror of the heavens.
Children would release their lanterns and whisper their wishes into the wind. Lovers would watch their two flames drift side by side and promise to meet again. And elders would bow their heads, remembering those whose lanterns now glowed beyond the stars. It became the heartbeat of the city, a rhythm of remembrance and hope. And as you listen now, in your quiet room, you can almost see it, can't you? The calm sea, the gentle laughter, the rustle of robes, the glow of light upon ancient marble.
A city alive with warmth, with meaning, with peace. Maybe you can even hear the distant call of gulls, or the low hum of waves brushing the harbor stones. Let that sound wash through you. Let it slow your breath. Because in truth, the story of the lanterns isn't just about Alexandria, it's about us.
You're carrying the light forward. You're saying, without words, I'm still here. I still care. I still see. And maybe, somewhere beyond time, the ghosts of the old city smile at that, at how their glow never truly faded. Many centuries later, when travelers came upon the ruins of the ancient port, they found strange things buried in the sand. Fragments of colored glass, melted smooth by age. Tiny bronze lamp handles shaped like stars. Even a shard of marble etched with a line of verse.
The archaeologists couldn't fully translate it, but it seemed to say something like, "Light was our language, and the sea remembered it." Some nights, when the moon rises over the Mediterranean, fishermen in modern Alexandria still claim to see small flickers out on the waves. They say they're not stars, nor ships, but the lost lanterns of the ancients, drifting endlessly between the worlds of the living and the remembered. It's a comforting thought, isn't it? That somewhere, in the great hush between sea and sky, the lights of long ago still dance, reminding the dark that it never wins for long. Now, as you listen, let your mind float with those drifting lamps. See them gliding over calm, dark water. Feel the night breeze cool on your skin. Smell the faint sweetness of jasmine and salt. Each lantern a heartbeat, each flame a breath, each glow a story. That one is yours. It belongs to your hopes, your memories, your dreams for tomorrow. It drifts slowly, not rushed, not lost, just carried by the calm rhythm of the sea. And as it moves, the stars above begin to shimmer in reply, as if recognizing an old friend. Maybe one of those stars was once a lantern, too. Maybe the universe is filled with the echoes of small flames, each one born from someone's wish to keep another person safe. So tonight, as your body grows heavy and your breathing slows, let that light guide you inward. Let it float through the quiet chambers of your thoughts, softening every worry, easing every ache. You are part of that same story, part of the endless chain of lanterns that reach across time and space, from ancient harbors to the edge of sleep. If you could walk along that harbor now, you would see Nikos again, older, peaceful, watching the sea. Thalia beside him, her hair silver in the lantern glow. They don't speak. They simply sit, listening to the soft hiss of oil flames and the sigh of waves. Above them, the stars pulse gently, and far across the water, the great Pharos flame gleams once more. Perhaps you can imagine it. the warm shimmer on the stones, the faint hum of cicadas in the night air, the quiet joy of a city that remembers what light means. And if you look closer, you might notice something even deeper, the reflection of all those lanterns not just on the sea, but in your own mind. Each one a memory, a kindness, a moment you've kept alive. Because your heart, too, is an Alexandrian harbor, filled with little lights that never die. So rest now. Let the glow surround you. Let the night cradle you the way the sea cradled the ancient lamps. The world outside will keep turning, the light will keep shining, and you can drift peacefully into sleep, knowing that somewhere, across time, the lanterns of Alexandria still burn. Quiet, steady, eternal. Good night, friend. Wherever you are, may your dreams be warm and bright, and may the lanterns guide you safely home. The waves never truly forget, even when centuries pass, even when kingdoms rise and fall, the sea remembers the rhythm of the shore, the places where light once touched its surface. And so, though the city changed, though its marble towers crumbled and the grand library became legend, the harbor of Alexandria still shimmered at night. Modern ships now float where wooden galleys once did. The air hums not with the voices of scholars, but with the quiet sounds of fishermen's radios and the creak of metal cranes. Yet, beneath it all, the sea still whispers the same lullaby it sang to Nikos and Thalea, a tune woven from tide, wind, and light. Tonight, a young traveler stands at that same harbor, watching the water ripple under the moon. Her name is Elena. She has come from far away, from a small coastal town in Italy, carrying a journal, a worn camera, and a restlessness she can't quite name. She came to Alexandria chasing a feeling she doesn't understand, a feeling she once read in a story her grandmother told her before sleep. They say the lanterns still burn beneath the water, my little one, and if you listen quietly enough, you can hear them calling. Elena smiles faintly, her breath curling into the night air. She had never truly believed the story, but standing here, she feels something stirring inside her chest. The air is warm, the scent of salt thick and sweet. Somewhere in the distance, music drifts from a cafe, low strings, laughter, the clink of cups. But near the water, there is only stillness. She kneels by the edge, her fingers brushing the surface. The harbor lights shimmer like living things, red, gold, blue, each one trembling softly in the waves. And then, as she leans closer, she notices something else, a faint glimmer deeper down, below the reflection of the modern city. It's small, pale, and moving gently with the current. A trick of light, maybe? Or maybe not. Elena takes a deep breath, and in a quiet voice, she whispers, almost to herself, "Where are you, old lights?" The sea responds with a hush, and then, for the briefest second, she sees it. A single golden glow, deeper than any electric bulb, older than any glass filament. It flickers once, then twice, like a heartbeat from another age. And in that moment, the noise of the present fades away. The sound of traffic disappears. The hum of machines grows distant. All that remains is the sigh of the wind, the rhythm of the waves, and the glow of a memory. Elena blinks, and the light is gone. But her heart is racing softly, not from fear, but from wonder. She looks around. The fishermen are still tending their nets. The harbor guards are chatting idly near their post. No one seems to have noticed. "Maybe it was just me," she whispers. But deep down, she knows it wasn't. That night, she returns to her small hotel room near the Corniche, opens her journal, and begins to write. She writes not like a tourist, but like someone listening through time. She describes the flicker she saw, the warmth, the color, the feeling that it was trying to speak. Her handwriting is slow and uneven, but each word seems to calm her, like waves smoothing the sand. She doesn't realize it yet, but her room faces the same direction where the ancient Pharos Lighthouse once stood, the tower whose flame guided sailors, scholars, and dreamers alike. Outside her window, the sea glimmers faintly under the moon. Later, as she drifts toward sleep, something curious happens. In her dream, the city is quiet again. Not modern, not ancient, but something in between. Stone buildings rise around her, the air filled with the scent of lotus and olive oil. She hears voices, gentle, musical, speaking in a language she doesn't know, but somehow understands. And there, walking along the shore, is a young boy holding a lantern made of glass. The flame inside dances like sunlight caught in water. He looks at her and smiles, a knowing, timeless smile. "Do you see it now?" he asks softly. "The light was never lost, it just changes hands." When Elena wakes, the dawn is pale and gold. Her heart feels strangely full, not heavy, not sad, but full. She takes her notebook and walks back to the harbor, barefoot, letting the sand cool her feet. The sea is calm again, and though she sees no glow beneath the waves, she senses it, faint, steady, alive. Later that day, she meets an old man selling lamps by the market. He is thin, with a face carved by sun and laughter. Elena stops and picks one up. The old man looks at her kindly. "That one," he says, "is made from sand near the ancient port. They say it remembers." She smiles. "Remembers what?" "The first lights," he replies simply. "The lanterns of the old city." He wraps the lantern carefully in paper, ties it with twine, and says, "Light it tonight. You'll see." That evening, Elena walks once more to the harbor. The sun sinks beyond the sea, turning the sky rose and violet. She sets the lantern down beside her and lights the wick. The small flame trembles, then steadies. And as it glows, she feels it again, that connection, that deep hush. It's as though the air around her is holding its breath. Then, without warning, the wind shifts. The flame flickers wildly, and for a heartbeat, the reflection in the water changes. Instead of one lantern, she sees hundreds, thousands, stretching far out into the dark. Tiny points of light, floating, shimmering, alive. Her eyes fill with tears. She whispers, "They're still here." In that instant, the centuries fold in on themselves. She can almost hear the old city breathing, the footsteps of scholars in marble halls, the laughter of children on the docks, the sound of Thalia reciting her poems by the shore, and above all, the heartbeat of the Pharos flame, steady and kind. Elena closes her eyes, and the world feels timeless. When she opens them again, the sea is calm. The extra lights are gone. Only her single lantern remains, burning quietly beside her. She doesn't speak. She doesn't need to. She just watches and breathes and lets the peace of it all settle deep within her. Later, she writes in her journal again. The light is not gone. It travels through glass, through air, through memory. I saw it tonight, the lanterns of Alexandria. Maybe we are each one of them, a small glow carrying someone's hope across the darkness. She closes the book and falls asleep by the water. The lantern stays lit beside her, its flame swaying gently in the night breeze. When morning comes, fishermen find her still resting, the unburned lamp flickering faintly, though its oil should have long been gone. They shake their heads and smile. Another dreamer, one says, listening to the sea. But one of them, an old man with eyes the color of the deep, looks longer. He nods slowly and whispers, "The sea remembers." And indeed it does. For even now, as the city awakens to the rush of cars and the scent of coffee, the waves below carry faint glints of gold, not from sunlight, but from something older, softer, wiser. The lanterns of Alexandria, still drifting, still glowing, still telling their story to those who listen. So, as you rest tonight, wherever you are, maybe by the coast, maybe in the heart of a quiet town, imagine a lantern resting on your bedside table. Its glass is warm, its light soft and steady. Inside that flame lives every story, every kindness, every spark of wonder passed from heart to heart since time began. You are part of it now, the chain of light that never ends. So close your eyes. Feel the calm wash over you. Hear the soft hum of the sea, eternal and kind. You are safe here, surrounded by ancient light. The lanterns are burning for you, not in the past, but in this very moment. 1,000 soft flames in the quiet night, leading you gently into sleep. Good night, traveler. May you dream of warm harbors, quiet seas, and the endless glow of the lanterns of Alexandria. And when you wake, may you carry their light within you.